All right. Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to the Black Brain Trust. I'm one of your co-hosts, Lionel. Um, Here with my other co-host, Mike, and we have another guest, Prem, on the show. Today is Monday, August 13th, 2018. And with Monday comes space and technology. Today we are sure to have a great show for you today. Um, we have things in, as the title says, in the technology space and the space. Yes, I did say space. So with that said, let's go ahead and get to our first article. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right. This first article comes from foxnews.com. Title, oh, excuse me. Title, Frozen Worms, Russian Frozen Worms, Russian tongue tied. Russian worms frozen for nearly 42,000 years, alive and well, scientists say. A pair of nematodes, roundworms, are apparently alive after they were frozen in permafrost for nearly 42,000 years. Russian scientists said the two prehistoric worms, out of a group of about 300, are moving and eating after they came back to life in a lab at the Institute of Physico-Chemical and Biological Problems of Soil Science in Moscow, the Serbian Times reported. After being defrosted, the nematodes showed signs of life, a report from the Russian scientists said, according to the Serbian Times. One of the worms was found near the Alizaya River in 2015 and is believed to be about 41,700 years old, according to the study published in the Duck Lady Biological Sciences. They were found about 11.5 feet underground. The other worm was found in 2002 in a fossil rodent burrow near the Kolima River. These samples were taken from about 100 feet underground. The worms were found close to Pleistocene Park, the site of an experimental project to recreate the habitat of the extinct woolly mammoth, according to the Sun. Our data demonstrate the ability of multicellular organisms to survive long term, tens of thousands of years. Cryo, Cryobiosis, under the conditions of natural cryo, cryoconservation, a report provided to Fox News said. It is obvious that this ability suggests that Pleistocene nematodes have some adaptive mechanisms that may be of science and practical importance for the related fields of science, such as cryomedicine, cryobiology, and astrobiology. It continued. Cryobiology is the study of living things at extremely low temperatures. The worms were cultivated in petri dishes at about 20 degrees Celsius or 68 degrees Fahrenheit for several weeks, the study said. Scientists believe both worms are female, according to a report provided to Fox News. Nematodes are known for their ability to sustain long periods of time in unfavorable conditions, including in extremely low temperatures, the report said. They are the oldest living animals currently on the planet, the Serbian Times reported. The research was conducted by teams from multiple Russian institutions, as well as Princeton University and New Jersey. Upon reading this article, I believe this is of use for they say they're going to study the toads for the few different sciences, including cryomedicine, cryobiology, and astrobiology. And I'm sure whatever they find, I'm sure they're going to use that for some type of space travel. And on top of that, this proves that life on other planets doesn't have to be intelligent life. It could be some type of microbiological life. So, anybody else got any points on this one?
Yeah, and the reason why I sent this article in is because um, this makes me wonder about some of the permafrost and some of the frozen lakes that find under the surface of Mars in recent time. And it makes me wonder what else is under the surface. Now, if Mars has been frozen in this capacity or has ice under the surface for so many years, and we're talking millions and millions of years, we don't really know what's under there. So if there was life on Mars before, it's going to be under the surface, and you're going to find it, and you're going to find worms like this probably under the surface of Mars.
Yeah, yeah. Any points on this, Kareem?
I'm learning. I'm listening and I'm learning. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you, Mike. They are finding um water under the surface of Mars. And not only that, there can be water under the surface of many other planets, like these ice giants out in the outer spaces of the universe. That even though they're solid on the surface, it's said that their oceans go thousands of miles deep. So when you are close to the core, um, the water under there can be liquid, albeit the water on the surface is ice. So I agree with you. You know, like I said, it may not be extra, it may not be intelligent life, but it's still some type of life. It's still some type of microbiological life that could be on these planets. All right. Our next article comes from diverseeducation.com. Title: HBCUs and PBIs usher in new era of cybersecurity. PBI stand for public, not public, predominantly black institutions. Written by Tiffany Pieneman, August 2nd. Let me blow this up for you all. Again, if you want to follow along in our on our docket, everything is left down in the description so you can follow along with us. All right. It's a bit of a long one, but it's a pretty good, interesting article. Security analyst, systems administrator, or cybersecurity engineer are just a few names of the approximately 350,000 cybersecurity jobs that went unfilled last year. That number of job openings is expected to reach 3.5 million by 2021, according to a report by Cybersecurity Ventures. As a high demand for skilled laborers in cybersecurity and information technology continues, and concerns surge about the nation's national security, historically black colleges and universities, or HBCUs, have stepped up to train their students for the jobs of the future. Across the country, HBCUs and predominantly black institutions, or PBIs, recognize the need to build capacity and diversity in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM fields. Several institutions now have emerging cybersecurity programs, while others, such as Norfolk State University, are expanding their training initiatives and programs with new resources and research facilities on the campus. It is well known that HBCUs produce the most Black STEM PhDs, says Dr. Aurelia T. Williams, chair of the Computer Science Department at Norfolk State. If we are to fulfill those cybersecurity positions with a talented and diverse pool, then HBCUs must be part of the equation. Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, or BLS, indicates that the cybersecurity profession, particularly information security analyst jobs, is projected to grow 28% between 2016 and 2026, much faster than average for all occupations. Most of the available positions will require a bachelor's degree or similar industrial based certifications. However, African Americans make up merely 3% of information security analysts in the United States, says Copeland State University President Dr. Maria Thompson. Am I still live?
Yeah, you still left.
All right, cool, cool. As a result of predicted cybersecurity employment shortages, demand for qualified workers has been categorized as an emergency, Williams adds. Cyber attacks are also expected to become more common, according to BLS. Workforce and education leaders point out that it will take a combined effort from higher education institutions, states, and business partners to bridge connections for students to enter in demand roles with the skills and competencies employers need. Significantly, Dr. Harry L. Williams, President and CEO of the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, says that HBCUs and PBIs will have to overcome the challenge of building enough institutional capacity to sustain the cybersecurity programs that will train students for the profession. Part of the building, Part of building that sustainability will start with having faculty members trained at the latest developments of the cybersecurity field. Faculty members at Tuskegee University's newly established cybersecurity focused computer engineering degree program are seeking and maintaining certifications such as Certified Information Systems Security Professional or CISSP, Certified Ethical Hacker or CEH, Certified Information Privacy Professional slash Government or CIPPG, and Certified Cloud Security Professional or CCSP, says Dr. Heshmat Aglin, Dean of Tuskegee College of Engineering. The professional development of these faculties also include active participation in various workshops and training sessions on curriculum development in emerging computer engineering areas such as parallel slash distributed computing and artificial intelligence, among others, Aglin adds. Tuskegee's computer engineering degree of focus makes it the first ever program at an HBCU. Wow. The degree will provide undergraduate students with a career pathway into computer hardware design and cybersecurity engineering. It will give students an opportunity to explore emerging engineering specialties, including artificial intelligence, high performance computing, machine learning, deep learning, autonomous vehicle technology, and embedded robotics, says Agler. Existing electrical, computer science, and mathematical engineering courses will be combined with 22 new credit hours of computer engineering courses. Students will satisfy the degree's requirements by completing 128 credits in the program. The program officially launches this fall. Ackland says the courses of the cybersecurity focused degree were judiciously selected by a committee of current faculty, two Tuskegee engineering alumni, and an external faculty member, Dr. David Cayley of Northeastern University's Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering. Committee research solidified the university's decision to keep program enrollment to 25 students per year to increase student Wow. Committee research solidified the university's decision to keep program enrollment to 25 students per year to increase student support and success in nurturing environment. Excuse me. Title. Tentative course titles include data structures and algorithms, computer hardware design, hardware security, mobile security, internet security, software security, information assurance management, Internet of Things or IoT, and computer network design. Furthermore, faculty and administrators in the new program already have set outcomes and expectations for students. Am I still live? Gotta keep checking.
Yeah, you're still alive.
Oh,
All
yeah,
right.
Captain.
Thank you. Upon graduation, students will be able to demonstrate technical breadth and depth of modern computer engineering areas and become highly competitive for technical and engineering positions with government and private employers, Agnes says. Among other computer engineering skills, graduates will be able to 1. Test and evaluate the security systems of organizational computer networks, and 2. Devise and effectively communicate cybersecurity solutions and policies. Other HBCUs, PBIs, and community colleges are expanding their academic opportunities for students to delve into the cybersecurity space, with one recent effort in Maryland creating opportunities for institutions to diversify the cybersecurity field. In May, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan signed Senate Bill 615, establishing the Cyber Warrior Diversity Program, or CWDP, at Bowie State University, Coppin State University, Morgan State University, and the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, and Baltimore City Community College. CWDP will train students in computer networking and cybersecurity, and will also include training for specified Computing Technology Industrial Association, or CompTIA, certifications. Each of the schools will receive a grant of $2.5 million from the Maryland Higher Education Commission for the program. This effort goes a long way to make certain that graduates of our institutions are armed with a degree, a cyber certificate, and immediate earning potential, says Coppin State's president. That Maryland is home to a large cybersecurity community, including the National Security Agency, or NSA, National Cybersecurity Center of Excellence, or NCCOE, U.S. Cyber Command, Defense Information Systems Agency, or DISA, National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST, Army Research Lab, and Cyber Command, among others, is not lost on higher education officials who are aware of the dire need of cybersecurity professionals in the region. Our goal at Coppin State is to prepare our students to meet workforce demand, Thompson says. This CWDP initiative poises Coppin State to do just that. Coppin State students will get trained in soft skills too, so that they are competent in critical thinking, teamwork, anticipating need, problem solving, and sound decision making, which ensures that an employer can be certain that a graduate who with those skills will be successful in their company, Thompson says. 4 hours south of Coppin State, Norfolk State University recently dedicated its 4,000,000 6,000 square foot cybersecurity complex in April at the Mary V. McDeman Center for Applied Research. The Federal Department of Defense funded the complex in part, and the facility will house the university's Center of Excellence for Cybersecurity. Research lab and data centers will provide training to 120 students in areas such as digital forensics, cloud computing, wireless security, and intelligent intrusion detection systems. Norfolk cybersecurity initiatives began in 2003 with a Master's of Science degree in computer science with an emphasis in information assurance. The precursor to cybersecurity, says Williams, the complex's director. The early stages of the program began when graduates in the early 90s entered federal agencies and gained exposure to computer security. Those alumni were able to share with then faculty the importance and significance of the emerging fields, she says. A few alumni returned to the university as faculty to help with the establishment of the cyber initiative. Over the years, NSU added a track in the Bachelor's of Science Computer Science program, added a new MS in cybersecurity, and secured approximately 42 million in external funding to advance its cybersecurity programs. And in 2015, NSU served as the leading institution for the Cybersecurity Workforce Pipeline Consortium, an effort from the Department of Energy and former Vice President Joe Biden to advance cybersecurity education at minority serving institutions. The initiative granted 13 HBCUs, two national labs, and a K through 12 school district with a share of a 25 million grant over 5 years. Williams added that since the institution became an NSA slash Department of Homeland Security Center of Excellence and in Information Assurance Education in 2009, students have flocked to the undergraduate track of the computer science degree program. Expanded capacity due to funding has also increased opportunities and access for students to participate in internships with the school's government and corporate partners, she says. The online MS in cybersecurity program particularly saw the largest enrollment increase. This program welcomes students from non-technical degrees, Williams says. Therefore, students with bachelor degrees in liberal arts disciplines like psychology and sociology are a large contributor to a population that was previously untouched. As with other cybersecurity programs, Norfolk State expects students to have knowledge and experience with the latest techniques and tools used in the cybersecurity discipline. Undergraduate computer science students are required to take fundamentals of cybersecurity, network administration, digital, digital forensics, cryptography, and network security, and computer network defense, which are all supported with hands on laboratories, Williams says. Students are also encouraged to take advantage of internships, conduct research with faculty, and apply their classroom skills to other experimental learning opportunities. The new cybersecurity complex will help the institution expand its engagement in research activities, with focuses on cloud enabled, big data analytics capable cyber analysis, simulation and experimentation environment, or CASE V, mitigation and forensic analysis capabilities to defend against. Hello, got some. Okay. Mitigation and forensic analysis capabilities to defend against future advanced threats and methodologies and techniques in cyber intelligence and cyber defense. Norfolk State computer science faculty are preparing their students for the future. HBCUs must have the resources, capabilities, and educational opportunities to allow our students to compete, Williams says. All right. With that long and excellent article read, I'm going to pass this off to you, Mike, since you know much more about this than I do.
Yeah, I mean it's a very long article. It's more of an infomercial than anything else. Uh, so the cybersecurity industry is a hard to fill position in the field, mostly because you don't have the skill set available because the education is hard to come by as well. Most of the education is pretty junk food and it's all recycled, and you're not really getting into the field with the necessary skills, even when they do graduate. So a part of this issue is that attacks are changing by the day. So whatever attack happened, um, on the first of the month, a new attack just happened this morning, and they always changing tactics. So the threat actors always changing tactics. So you got to constantly keep up. And so it's a ever ever long pursuit of education, continuous education, what we call CPE, so continuing professional education credits. Um, I graduated with a degree in information security, cybersecurity, and have all the certifications that they've mentioned. Um, I usually take one certification a year, or maybe two certifications a year, um, as a way to sharpen my skills and keep up with the market demand. They're not that far off in their approach. It's good to see HBCUs are getting involved, but I don't think their approach is the right approach. It, you got to create the foundation first, but once they leave, before they leave the campus, they also have to do an internship, and part of the internship has to be dealing with real world scenarios. So what's happening now is that they're basically giving them Happy Meals sort of education, where it's kind of just a tender morsel for your appetite and to get in. But as soon as you get out in the field and you're looking for work, it's hard to find work because you didn't have the necessary new modern skill set that they're looking for. They're looking for reverse malware engineers, and if you didn't learn that in school, then you're kind of screwed. Um, other than that, I think their approach is also weak in the sense that we're dealing with a new component, which is IoT, and most of your new vehicles coming out have some form of network connectivity as well as autonomous driving capabilities, such as the Tesla, such as the some of the new Mercedes and BMWs that are coming out that are already out already have that capability that you can control the vehicle with just the remote itself on the keychain. So there's other aspects to cybersecurity um, that needs to be focused on instead of just worrying about viruses on desktop computers. That's just not, that's not the case anymore.
Okay. Okay. Um, the the fields that they mentioned in the article and the first degrees that they mentioned in the article, is that a good start for them to build upon? And I understand what you're coming from. They should have the experience before they go into go out to the workforce. But what they're offering right now as this first step, is that a good first step? Hello, you there?
Right, it is. But it also is a step backwards because cybersecurity has now been politicized because of the democratic election and the accusation that they've had against the so-called Russian bots and the Russian cybersecurity scandal. So now what they're doing is they're ramping up their programs based on this fictitious threat actor, which is the Russians hacking a democratic election that they don't have any proof of. So now you're
Mhm.
creating this arms race for schools to boost up these programs based on fallacious nefarious information that's not really true. Because if that was the case, then what about nuclear weapons and now Trump's talking space wars. Are we
Mm.
going to start ramping up programs at community colleges now for astronauts? I mean, where do you draw the line? So for me, in being in the cybersecurity field, I meet a lot of people, and it's a very diverse field. But the problem is, um, you have to have the aptitude to actually get in and actually do the work. Just because you have a degree doesn't mean anything to anybody. Especially degrees in the field doesn't mean anything. To
Mm.
be quite honest with you, people don't look at degrees. They look at, can you do the work? They can tell by the way a person talks and the way they conduct themselves, whether or not you're genuine or whether or not you have the capability to do what they want you to do because there's a lot of other aspects that go into cybersecurity than just looking for viruses. That's not the case anymore. Viruses are outdated. Now the new attempts are um, pacemakers and IoT, shutting down utility grids, traffic lights, things of that
Mm.
nature. Those are the new um, vulnerabilities that are out on the market, and you're not going to learn that in school. That's just what it is.
Okay. Okay. You got any questions on or comments on this on Prem?
Yeah, yeah, I need a piece of this apple right here. Two of them. I need two bites. The first one has to do with um, a quote that was in here at the end, and I quote, "This program welcomes students from non-technical degrees," Williams said. "Therefore, students with bachelor degrees in liberal arts disciplines like psychology and sociology are large contributors to a population that was previously untouched." So, role play here. I'm a student, psychology degree, liberal arts, whatever that is. I didn't go to, college, so I'm not sure the right terminology, but can someone that comes out of that with just a basic, is that enough to be an expert or to be proficient in this field, in the security field? Is that all it takes? Because I know that even me as a layperson, I can probably get online, find a course in cybersecurity, in this, that, whatever, spend a couple months, 8 months, 12 months, 14 months, and get certified in something. So is that really all it takes for an entry level? And can I earn a livable income without having any prerequisite in it, Mike?
Yes and no. So you don't need to be a genius, but you also have to have the mindset, right? So part of what I do from day to day is I have to think just like a bad guy. So if I'm trying to defend the company, if I'm trying to defend assets, then I have to think just like how a bad guy will want to get to those assets. So that means I have to look at the whole entire infrastructure, look at the whole entire environment. And is, for example, we have 20,000 servers. I have to look at every single aspect of these servers, and I have to look at every single aspect of the network and how these servers talk to each other, and what mechanisms they use to talk to each other, which applications haven't been updated, which applications talk to each other, which one takes priority. If there's a patch that needs to be put into place for our operating system, whether it's Windows or it's Linux, and you have 1,000 servers, how do you plan out for that? What becomes the priority? Because once you do the patch um, the system has to reboot itself. Well, if you have 1,000 servers, do you take those offline? How do you determine the
Mm.
priority? Because while you're trying to debate this in your head or debate this with your leadership, you also have to take in consideration that the longer it takes for you to patch it, the easier it is for the bad guys to get in. So there's a political side to it. There's a compliance side to it. There's risk, and then there's you as the individual who has to make this determination before leadership, and you have to present a good case. And if you don't, then what happens is you end up like Equifax, with 143 million records stolen out of the environment, and you have to answer for that.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, I'll leave it at that. And the second thing is, and it's not really a question to the article, but it's just like a personal thing. I get kind of queasy um, whenever I hear the word diversity. I'd rather hear the word competition than hear the word diversity. And I think it was kind of towards the beginning of the article to where it's like, hey, we got this school, we got these people, they're taking these classes, it's accredited. Um, there's a lack of blank, there's more need of blank, whatever, yada, yada, yo. But I just come from the standpoint of if you're thorough, if you're capable, if you're better than anyone else, you will get hired, you will get put on. I'm not sure if that ties into what we're talking about, and I know that wasn't like the emphasis of the article in and of itself, but I definitely heard that word at least two times in this article that there's a lack of, and I'm not sure how he put it or how it was put, but let me just reach. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So because there is you know, diversity doesn't mean there is a bad, thing in the industry or in that sector in the security sector. So because someone who may have a liberal arts degree may pursue to get entry level cybersecurity thing doesn't mean that they have to get hired on. Um, again, I'm all for competition, capabilities, and that proving the point. So there's not a question there, but it's just one of those things to where my ears just perk up when I hear the word diversity versus competing or competition.
So let me tackle two things that you said. Now, I didn't
Yes,
answer
sir.
the second question that you had about can you make a living. Yes, it's cybersecurity industry is probably the most lucrative industry that you can get into right now, if you have the skill set. So they pay based on skill. Entry level jobs usually start at maybe 20 to 22 bucks an hour. High end jobs are usually mid to senior level, or principal jobs are usually any between 100 to $400,000. So what happens? So to your next point, what happens is a lot of your hiring managers. want a homogenous environment. The problem with having a homogenous environment is that it forces, it sacrifices diversity, not just diversity from gender, but diversity from ethnicities. And because black people are on the outside of the market in terms of education, which is what the article is kind of pointing to from HBCU standpoint. How do you get these? How do you get more African Americans, and more importantly, how do you get more black men into these roles? Because what Trump is doing with the H-1B visas, putting a stop to them, is it's allowing black men to have a better opportunity at these jobs. Because typically,
Yep.
what
Yep.
these
Yep.
companies would do, what these companies would do is they will go to India and recruit cybersecurity people because India is an IT powerhouse in terms of the region. They're heavily invested into information technology learning as well as information technology servicing. So they're like a global master in that stuff. However, we as black people have not mastered this at all. And what that does for us is it keeps us from getting in. And in order for you to get in, you have to kind of assimilate. And it's hard for black men to assimilate because of the racism that's been institutionalized in these environments. So um, you have what they call microaggressions inside these workplaces where the darker your skin is, the more aggressive some of these people can be towards you. If you have like something like locks, that can be a trigger point for some of these people. Before you even get either you get to interview or you get into the environment and you do grow your locks out, that can be a problem. Um, the way how you speak, if you don't speak in the way that white people or the predominant society actually speaks, then what happens is you start to look like the oddball, and they don't accept that sort of diversity about where a person may have come from because not everybody grew up the same exact way. I grew up in the urban city. I came from the hood, but I actually went out and got a did my undergrad and did my graduate degree, all in security, all in information technology. However, sometimes that's not enough. So you may be qualified for the job, but what happens is hiring manager says, "Well, I don't like his teeth, or I don't like his posture, or I don't like his dreads, or I don't like the tattoo he had," and that becomes a determination for either not hiring or for termination. So it's important to understand that diversity matters because a lot of companies want to be diverse, either because they're looking to expand or there's a quota in place in certain states that says that you have to have this many, um, people in your environment. In Boston, we have a one-third majority. Actually, the majority of the people here are actually minorities, black and brown. White people are really the minority in that regard. But if you go into the financial district and you go into the technology district, it's almost 80% white. So what happens with here is that black people are on the outside trying to get in, even though they're the majority, and it's not fair that black people are being pushed out only to let in these Indians or maybe these Pakistanis or some other POC quote unquote to get in for roles that typically from a affirmative action perspective should be for African Americans, but is actually being given to other people. So they can go on the cover of Forbes magazine and says, "Oh, we're just so diverse," but in reality, there are no African Americans there, even though the majority of the population are African Americans.
That's a good answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
That's a great answer. Excuse me. All right. Let's go ahead and continue on with the docket. We still got some good things on the docket. The next article comes from ScienceAlert.com. Title: Scientists have invented a software that can see several minutes into the future. Written by Mike McCrae, June 14. Taking predictions to a new, borderline creepy level. All right, article. This isn't some creepy minority report style of precognition, not yet at least, but it could see us get robot butlers that hand us a decent coffee before we even ask for it. a process developed by computer scientists from the University of Bonn in Germany has successfully pushed the boundaries on how computers can accurately anticipate human behaviors minutes ahead. Current generations of anticipatory software are only interested in knowing what will do in the next few seconds. We want to predict the timing and duration of activities minutes or even hours before they happen, says research team leader Jurgen Gall. The goal was to see if a program could list a sequence of actions up to 5 minutes into the future based on watching the first few steps of an activity. Specifically, they trained software to guess what a chef would do next by showing a number of videos of people making breakfast or a salad. They then showed the program a completely new video of another person preparing a similar meal and watch how it guessed upcoming steps and their respective duration. For you and I, this isn't exactly a challenge. If you see somebody grab a bowl and some cereal, you can be pretty sure they'll go for the milk next, which will take 5 seconds and maybe then cross the kitchen for a spoon. But this type of reasoning isn't a walk in the park for computers. The team tested two approaches using different types of artificial neural network. One that anticipated future actions and reflected before anticipating again, and another that built a matrix in one hit before crunching the probabilities. As you'd expect, the deeper they looked into the future, the more mistakes they made. Accuracy was over 40% for shorter forecasting periods, but then declined the more the algorithm needed to look into the future, says Gall. The reflective approach did a little better than the matrix method when looking at the next 20 seconds, but the two different neural networks were equally matched when looking beyond 40 seconds. At the extreme end, the scientists discovered their trained programs could correctly predict an action and its duration 3 minutes into the future, roughly 15% of the time. This might not sound impressive, but it does establish solid ground for future artificial intelligence that could potentially develop superhuman foresight. The team present at the team will present their results at this year's IEEE conference on computer vision and pattern recognition in Salt Lake City, which we hope will generate some interest in predictive software. There's still plenty of ground to cover, especially since the end goal will be to have programs build up enough experience on their own without a need to be trained. Forget predicting crimes before they happen. We have a long way to go before we need to worry about that kind of future. Our best algorithms struggle to predict which criminals will reoffend, let alone guess who will break the law in the first place. What it could do is help us improve the intelligence of self-driving vehicles or help us out around the home by switching on a stove the moment we pull out a lasagna. Maybe it will finally give us a version of Clippy the office assistant who will predict at a glance that you really don't want any help writing that letter. I'm sure we have some points and questions about this. I like at the end how they say it may not be for predicting criminals, but they can use it for help around the house, for light turning on the stove, little things that you may need assistance with that you wish you had assistance with at that moment of time.
Yeah, and that's what artificial intelligence is. It's more of a personal assistant than anything else. I mean, people are thinking that AI is just going to replace the human 100%. In reality, it's really there for personal assistance. So in this aspect, I have a few friends who are physically challenged, and they could actually use some help instead of having instead of staying with a relative, you design an apartment or a condo or a house that is fully built from the ground up with artificial intelligence. this can actually be groundbreaking because they don't have to reach very high. They don't have to, be in more than one place at a time, turning on the burner for this stove versus going to the refrigerator versus going up to the top cabinet. They don't have to get, um, you know, it's especially some of my visually challenged friends, who they can't see, obviously. So, um, sometimes they know where their bathroom is, or they know exactly where the kitchen is, or where their room is to go sleep. But the problem is they can't see what's in front of them because they can only memorize their paces on where they need to get to. But what happens is when they want to go pick up an item, they can't tell the difference between um, uh, you know a couple
Salt and sugar.
well, not so much as salt and sugar, but more about a can of evaporated milk versus a can of beans, or,
Oh,
or,
okay.
or something to that effect, something that has the exact same circumference, but not the same exact goods inside of it.
Hmm. Any comments, Spring?
Oh yeah. It might be related, it might not, but like like 2 years ago when I was doing my research, into tech and startups and neural network, machine learning, VR. I went to one meetup with VR, and um, what I saw as a novice was the best use of it was to at a at a deeper, versus someone playing a game or being able to walk in a park and see his dog and just some cool stuff. Was I saw some rehabilitating aspects of it, to really people who were traumatized, or not even not even people who were traumatized, but people who just needed a little push, a little bump, to get up. Because as human beings, um, just VR has gotten to the point, at that point, which was like 2 years ago, had gotten so real that you could program it to impregnate the person who saw it with something that they could believe and that could actually change or affect their outcome, you know. So versus seeing it as a gaming thing or as a cool thing, I said, listen, they could this could change people's whole programming, whole outcome, whole this could change people's lives. Because if they put the headset on it, because it was so real. It was so real. Um it was so right there. So that's what I saw at that time. And I mean, moving forward, it's going to have like a lot of great uses, but that use right there, um, I think it's going to be one of the most beneficial of them all, in my opinion. In my opinion. Hello.
All right. All right.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no problem. I was listening to you. All right, let's go and get to our next article. So far, so good, gentlemen. So far, so good. All right, this next one comes from Wired.com. A new pacemaker hack puts malware directly on the device. Written by Lily Hay Newman, August 9th. Article. The first pacemaker hack emerged about a decade ago, but the latest variation on the terrifying theme depends not on manipulating radio commands, as many previous hacks have, but on malware installed directly on an implanted pacemaker. For nearly 2 years, researchers Billy Rios of the security firm Whitescope and Jonathan Butts of QED Secure Solutions have gone back and forth with pacemaker manufacturer Medtronic, which makes CareLink 2090 pacemaker programs and other relevant equipment that the researchers say contain potentially life threatening vulnerabilities. The Department of Homeland Security and the Food and Drug Administration have got involved as well. And while Medtronic has remediated some of the issues the researchers discovered, Rios and Butt say that too much remains unresolved and that the risk remains very real for pacemaker patients. The pair will walk through their findings Thursday at the Black Hat Security Conference. Rios and Butt say that they've discovered a chain of vulnerabilities in Medtronic infrastructure that an attacker could exploit to control implanted pacemakers remotely, deliver shocks patients don't need, or withhold ones they do, and cause real harm. The time period Medtronic spent discussing this with us, if they had just put their time into making a fix, they could have solved a lot of these issues. But says, now we're 2 years down the road, and there are patients still susceptible to this risk and altered therapy and of altering therapy, which means we could do a shock when we wanted to, or we could deny shocks from happening. It's very frustrating. Rios and Butts originally disclosed bugs they had discovered in Medtronic's software delivery network, a platform that doesn't communicate directly with pacemakers, but rather brings updates to supporting equipment like home monitors and pacemaker programmers, which healthcare professionals use to tune implanted pacemakers. Since the software delivery network is a proprietary cloud infrastructure, it would have been illegal for Butts and Rios to knowingly break into the system to confirm the authentication issues and lack of integrity checks they suspected. So they instead created a proof of concept that the vulnerabilities existed by mapping the platform from the outside and creating their own replica environment to test on. Medtronic took 10 months to vet the submission, at which point it opted not to take action to secure the network. Medtronic has assessed the vulnerabilities per our internal process, the company wrote in February. These findings revealed no new potential safety risks based on the existing product security risk assessment. The risks are controlled and residual risk is acceptable. The company did acknowledge to the Minnesota Star Tribune in March that it took too long to accept to assess Rios and Butt's findings. They didn't allay the researchers' initial concerns. They didn't allay, excuse me, but unable to fully vet the proprietary cloud infrastructure, they moved on to investing other aspects of the Medtronic system, buying some of the company's equipment from medical supply distributors and third-party resellers to tinker with directly. At Black Hat, Rios and Butts will demonstrate a series of vulnerabilities and how pacemaker programmers connect to Medtronic's software delivery network. The attack also capitalizes on a lack of digital code signing, a way of cryptographically validating the legitimacy and integrity of software to install tainted updates that let an attacker control the programmers and then spread to implanted pacemakers. If you just code sign, all these issues go away. But for some reason, they refuse to do that, Rio says. We've proven that a competitor actually has these mitigations in place already. They make pacemakers as well. Their programs literally use the same operating system as Medtronic's, and they have implemented code signing. So that's what we recommend for Medtronic, and we gave that data to the FDA. The programmers run the Windows XP operating system. Wow. All devices carry some associated risks, and like the regulators, we continuously strive to balance the risks against the benefits our devices provide. Medtronic spokesperson Erica Winkles told Wired in a statement, Medtronic deploys a robust, coordinated disclosure process and takes seriously all potential cyber attacks vulnerabilities in our products and systems. In the past, Whitescope LLC has identified potential vulnerabilities, which we have assessed independently and also issued related notifications, and we are not aware of any additional vulnerabilities they have identified at that time. Um, I know this article is a little drab for some people that are listening. Mike, did you want to have any comments on this before, without me finishing it?
Uh, you
Or,
probably
or
should just
continue?
finish it.
All right, cool. Let me, where did I leave off? Vulnerabilities. Okay, here we go. Medtronic did resolve a cloud vulnerability, Rios and Butts found, in which an attacker could remotely access and modify patients' pacemaker data, and their disclosures are also documented in Department of Homeland Security Industrial Control System advisories, including a separate Medtronic insulin pump vulnerability the researchers discovered that could allow an attacker to remotely dose a patient with extra insulin. That is wow. Um, Button Rio says, though, that many of the advisories are vaguely worded and seem to downplay the potential severity of the attacks. For example, all of them say that the vulnerabilities are not exploitable remotely, even when possible attacks hinge on things like connecting to HTTP web servers over the internet or manipulating wireless radio signals. We are talking about breaking a live pig because we have an app where you could kill it from your iPhone remotely, and that will really demonstrate these major implications. But says, we obviously decided against it, but it's just a mass scale concern. Almost anybody with an implantable device in them is subject to the potential implications of exploitation. DHS did not return a request for a comment by a publication. In a statement, the FDA said values the important work. Excuse me, the FDA said it values the important work of security researchers. The FDA is engaged with security researchers, industry, academia, and the medical community on ongoing efforts to ensure the safety and effectiveness of medical devices as they face potential cyber threats at all stages in the device's lifecycle. The agency also noted in an April medical device safety action plan that it is considering establishing a CyberMed safety expert analysis board, which would presumably provide a neutral vetting and review process for this type of disclosure. Meanwhile, Medtronic maintains that it has evaluated the concerns and has robust defenses in place to defend patients. We'll just demonstrate the exploits in action and let people decide for themselves, Rio says. Excuse me. There you have it. What about this article? I know you mentioned a few hours ago about what the HBUs and PBIs about the cybersecurity with pacemakers. You mentioned in that. Now we read this article. What about this article? Can you say about it?
So this is typical when you go to Black Hat. So Black Hat is all about it's all about the top security guys in their research and their ability to exploit devices that are available on the market and for proof of concept. So the best advice for anybody going to Black Hat is don't bring your cell phone because you will be hacked as soon as you come in there. Leave it in the hotel or lock it up in some kind of container, but don't bring your cell phone because they will attack you. Um, so this pacemaker, see the complexity of this whole pacemaker thing is once it's installed inside of a human, inside of a person, and there's a vulnerability in it that may need the device to be removed and patched, or if it needs to be patched, how do you determine it? That becomes complicated because it's in somebody's body. And you can't just say, oh, well, pick up the phone and call a person up and say, a patient, and say, hey, well, we need you to come back in the office. because you have to explain all this stuff to the patient because it's a liability. Because if something does go wrong, then you're at fault, and that can really bankrupt your entire organization. So that's why the research was so important, and it took them so many months to actually act on it. Makes me wonder how many devices they have out in the field, and the competency of the leadership of their security staff.
You have any comments on this, Preem?
Yeah, this is a couple levels above my pay grade, but to the point that we made a couple weeks ago, what was it about? Uh, it was about something having to do with IoT, Internet of Things. Oh, yeah. It was like the 5G versus 4G, and I was made aware that 5G kind of patched the vulnerabilities that are in 4G. So as a layman, as a novice, and just absolutely until God like descends down and tells me this, in my mind, unaware, not being in the industry, I just see that, okay, if a door has to be open or a crack has to be hatched for any type of upgrade, communication, back and forth, whatever, to a device, to a thing, to a whatever, that's a doorway to anybody who wants to come in and do some type of malfeasance. That's just the way I see it. I'm not paranoid. I'm an incurable optimist. But unless it's locked down, unless you put it in, shut it down, it's one and done. We never have to go ahead and go into it unless we open you up, take it out, put it in our facility, this and whatever. That I see that as being controlled. But as long as, again, with the IoT thing, with the Internet of Things thing, or with a pacemaker, with anything that relies on, it could be a daily, a weekly, a monthly, something, channel, exchange of waves, communication, data, that's a vulnerability. Um, and yeah, I mean, you got smart. I mean, yeah, there are cats out there that can, keep the bad guys away. Um, but that's if I got if we talk about a pacemaker in my heart, we're talking about my life, and you know, that's a this that's a tough decision, but it would have to be made. But I'm not sure what that's worth, but that's all I got to say about that.
Well, it has to be worth something because that's their whole business. But you know, wow, you control somebody's life from your iPhone. That's some shocking stuff. All right, let's get to our next article from ZDNet.com. Title: Deep Locker. When malware turns artificial intelligence into a weapon. In the future, your face could become the trigger of the execution of malware. Wow. Written by Charlie Osborne. Date August 8th. Excuse me. Article. AI can be used to automatically detect and combat malware, but this does not mean hackers can also use it to their advantage. Cybersecurity in the world of network systems, data collection, IoT, Internet of Things, devices, and mobility has become a race between white hats and threat actors. Traditional cybersecurity solutions, such as bolt-on antivirus software, are no longer enough. Cyber attackers are exploiting every possible avenue to steal data, infiltrate networks, disrupt critical systems, rinse bank accounts, and hold businesses to ransom. The rise of state-sponsored attacks does not help either. Security researchers and response teams are often hard-pressed to keep up with constant attack attempts, as well as vulnerabilities and patch management in a time where computing is becoming ever more sophisticated. Artificial intelligence has been touted as a potential solution which could learn to detect suspicious behavior, stop cyber attackers and their attacks, and take some of the workload away from human beings. However, the same technology can be used to can also be used by threat actors to augment their own attack methods. According to IBM, the AI era could result in weaponized artificial intelligence. In order to study how AI could one day become a new tool in the arsenal of threat actors, IBM Research has developed an attack tool powered by artificial intelligence. Dubbed DeepLocker, the AI powered malware is highly targeted and evasive, according to the research team. The malware carried along by systems such as video conferencing software, wow, is dormant until it reaches a specific victim, who is identified through factors including facial recognition, geolocation, voice recognition, and potentially the analysis of data gleaned from sources such as online trackers and social media. Once the target has been acquired, DeepLocker launches its attack. You can think of this capability as similar to a sniper attack in contrast to the spray and pray approach of traditional malware. IBM says it is designed to be stealthy and fly under the radar, avoiding detection until the very last moment when a specific target has been recognized. DeepLocker's deep neural network, or DNN, model stipulates trigger conditions to execute a payload. If these conditions are not met and the target is not found, then the malware remains locked up, which IBM says make the malicious code almost impossible to reverse engineer. Finding the target, triggering a key, and executing a payload may bring to mind an if this then that programming model. However, the DNN AI model is far more convoluted and difficult to decipher. To demonstrate DeepLocker's potential, the security research created a proof of concept in which WannaCry ransomware was hidden in a voice conferencing application. The malware was not detected by antivirus engines or sandboxing. The AI model was then trained to recognize the face of an individual selected for the test, and once spotted, the trigger condition would be met and the ransomware executed. What makes this AI powered malware particularly dangerous is that similar to how nation state malware works, it could infect millions of systems without even being detected, only unleashing its malicious payload to specified targets, which the malware operator defines, the research team added. Thankfully, this kind of cyber threat has not yet been actively used. Yet, however, DeepLocker was created in order to understand how AI could be bolted on to current malware techniques and to research just what threats the enterprise and consumers alike may face in the future. Wow. Wow. That's something right there.
It is, and it shows the complexity that I mentioned earlier about learning cybersecurity. When you go in a degree, they don't teach you all of this. Um, and I could be wrong. Maybe some institutions are teaching it, but to my knowledge, they're not teaching any of this. So, in order for you to actually make a to create a scenario like this, you have to have deep, deep knowledge of the environment and the components within the environment, as well as the wherewithal to actually make an attempt to attack a individual or an environment based on the tools that you're using. It's not as easy as some people think. It's not like y- you're uh, you're war driving somebody's house. That's not what it is. You have to know somebody's environment to know what components are in there. You can't get into most buildings anyway, so there's other ways of figuring this stuff out through supply chain, um, interruptions, and infiltration. I mean, um, as well as posing as somebody through social engineering, calling, and getting information and pulling information out of people. With this type of attack, could very well be used for other malicious attempts in the financial industry because you have boardroom directors, you have C-level executives who use this equipment and they don't have any knowledge um, as to why a device even works. They just want to know, does it work or does it not work?
Mm, okay, okay. That's man. It's wild because they're demonstrating the next level of malware and cybersecurity hacks. You know, it's next level stuff. Any other
Yeah.
comments? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that you want to make sure that your PC is encrypted. You want to make sure that you have the latest virus definitions. Obviously, a virus antivirus detection program such as McAfee or Norton's or whatever it is that you use isn't going to detect this type of malware, but you do want to make sure that any other pieces of malware or any other threats that are out there on the market um, can't easily bring your machine down since they're they target specific types of systems, especially ones that haven't been patched in the last few months or something like that. And I said the same
Mm,
thing on this hangout before that if you have an Android phone that hasn't been patched in the last 6 months, then you need to dump that phone immediately.
yeah, yeah, you did say that. Okay. Any other comments?
Um, I, I will say this. Yeah. Tip my hat off. To Mike for being in the security realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, shit. Because I remember reading an article a few months back, and I may have dropped it or said something about it. I probably didn't, but yeah, yeah. I kind of I remember mentioning it, but it was in passing. In that, I think like the year 2020, the amount of money that will be spent towards internet security, generalizing, macro level internet security, blah blah blah, will exceed the amount of money that is generated, that is made off of the internet. You know, so as new things come on board, and I'm not being a pessimist. I'm not saying, hey, I don't have my tinfoil hat on this one, but as things come on board, they're going to be open to vulnerabilities, to hacks, to malware, to I'm saying, to whatever. But I mean, you still have to get in there and compete if you're gonna Canera. But just for small business, for business owners or whatever, you definitely have to allocate whatever you do towards elevating, upgrading or whatever. Definitely budget for security because just as much as you spend on innovation, you're gonna have to secure that bad boy. Because not to say that you even have anything, you could just get caught up in a web of folks just fishing for data. It's crazy. So,
And
and I got put on this by I'm not sure if Mike knows this guy here in Atlanta. He's a brother, Paul Judge, and he started in the cybersecurity thing, and that's pretty much all he does. And as long as we have internet, we'll always need security. God bless him. God bless him. God bless him.
excuse.
Oh, that's it. I'm done.
Uh, yeah. Hey, a little cough there. All right, all right, all right. Let's get to our next article. Whew, excuse me. Yeah, I can imagine as cryptocurrencies gain more and more traction, and in the mainstream, that cybersecurity is just going to come tumble like a wave. You're going to hear it everywhere. All right. This is our next article comes from cryptobriefing.com. Excuse me. Title: Everything, everything, absolutely everything. The truth behind blockchain potential. Blockchain is changing how we create, distribute, and store everything. Written by Brian Penny, dated August 12th. Article. Investors and blockchain advocates spend a great deal of time discussing crypto markets and values, but the underlying blockchain technology is what truly makes cryptocurrency disruptive. And the truth is that I, if an item appears on a shelf, whether made by humans or plucked from the earth, then in the very near future, it will have been placed on this shelf with the help of blockchain tech. From letters to plush toys to computers, the scale of the opportunity is, as many have commented, as mind blowing as the internet itself. It's the real reason that investors are throwing money at anything with potential and starting funds to at unprecedented rates. Nobody knows which company will be the next Amazon, but the sense that it's out there is palpable. There could be dozens of them. Even every transport company, every manufacturer, every tech company, every retailer. The supply chain includes all the pieces that ensure a product or service gets from creation to the end users. It includes manufacturing, distribution, warehousing, shipping, retailers, and all the logistics in between. One of the most valuable blockchains focused on supply chain management is VeChain, which we've discussed a bit here on Crypto Briefing. But that's not where it stops. A recent a recent Statista survey of 200 logistic companies found their spending on found their spending on understanding, testing, and implementing blockchain technology. Here's how the blockchain is currently being developed and deployed across the supply chain. We're currently in the midst of what's called the fourth industrial revolution, or Industry 4.0. The first iteration was mechanization, water power, and steam power. The second was mass production via the assembly line. The third involved computers and automation. Industry 4.0 combines the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and cloud computing to create what's known as cyber physical systems. During this emerging process, digital twins are created for physically manufactured objects. These computer generated models gather large amounts of data to identify efficiencies, diagnose problems, and even predict maintenance. Manufacturers have little room for error, and there are rigorous guidelines in place. If every piece being assembled isn't designed to exact specifications, we end up with a situation like Samsung's exploding phone debacle in 2016. A recall of defective products can cost a company a lot of money. The Consumer Product Safety Commission has issued over 100 million in civil penalties since 2015 to companies over defective products. The agency reports that in 2016, the most recent year with data available, there were 240,000 toy-related injuries treated in U.S. hospital emergency rooms. This is why manufacturing companies are looking to the blockchain to decentralize their data. Got some background noise. Somebody mute. Group Renault, for example, is partnered with Microsoft and Visio on a prototype blockchain-based car maintenance digital twin. This ensures that a vehicle maintenance history is traceable, even if it changes owners. Carfax isn't necessary when you can simply check the digital ledger. Bosch and TÜV Rheinland are working on a similar automotive blockchain that will track odometer readings and save up to 7.5 billion in annual fraud. It's estimated that up to $3,700 in value is fraudulently added to used car values due to illegal manipulation odometers. Cornell University's ARXIV repository contains several case studies for blockchain and manufacturing, and IBM is dedicated to integrating manufacturing data into its blockchain platform. FedEx CEO Fred Smith declared at Census 2018 that blockchain technology is the first technology that can solidify trust in cross-border shipments. Matthias Holtger, DHL's global head of innovation, echoed the sentiment in a public report titled Blockchain and Logistics. In the report, Holtger's team outlines the complex information flow and 10 plus parties involved in any transaction in the import export business. Even once inside the US, there are over 500,000 trucking companies employing nearly 3.5 million truckers in the US alone. These truckers deliver nearly 70% of all freight transported annually, which accounts for 671 billion worth of goods just within the US. Both DHL and FedEx have a massive stake in the industry, and they are looking at the blockchain to reduce errors, increasing transparency, and ultimately eliminate friction that currently exists in their sector of the supply chain. According to the World Economic Forum, reducing this friction could increase our GDP by nearly 5%, while increasing trade by 15%. And they're not alone. UPS joined FedEx, Penske, SAP, Microsoft, Google, and hundreds of other companies in the Blockchain and Trucking Alliance. The forum's purpose is to develop blockchain technology standards and education for the freight industry. Maersk and IBM are partnered on a supply chain blockchain to digitize and track global trade end to end. Zim is performing trials of a bill of lading blockchain that makes paperwork easier for shipping containers being carried across the ocean on cargo ships. Accenture is doing the same. Even the U.S. Postal Service Office of the Inspector General has been researching the usage of blockchain technology since 2016. Potential applications it recommends are financial services, device management, identity services, and it filed a blockchain patent in September 2017. Warehouses have all the challenges of manufacturers, distributors, and retailers. Inventory management is the core of their business, and they must know exactly where everything is at every step of the process. They also need to ensure products are genuine. Counterfeiting is a real problem. And the, hold on, excuse me. All right, my apologies. The biggest wow, I'll leave off. They also need to ensure products are genuine. Counterfeiting is a real problem, and the Department of Homeland Security reports 44 million worth of counterfeited goods were seized through 1,845 seizures in 2017, an increase of 12% over 2016. Despite this, the 2018 Global Brand Counterfeiting Report estimates 1.2 trillion in counterfeit goods were produced globally, leading to 323 billion in losses in 2017. The biggest warehousing fraud committed in recent years is the Qingdao scandal, in which over 400,000 tons of metal was used to secure over 3 billion in funding. The problem was that metal didn't exist, uh, and fake warehouse receipts were used to make it appear like they did. Because of these problems, electric tracking is being implemented in warehouses across the globe. Using QR codes and blockchain technology, shipments are being identified and tracked much easier. Accenture and DHL partnered to create a proof of concept prototype of a blockchain based centralization project that can prove pharmaceuticals are genuine. Walmart, IBM, and others recently formed the Blockchain Food Safety Alliance to improve the integrity of the food supply chain too. Ugh. Our Armature Chan Distillery, which produces Scotch whiskey using renewable energy, use blockchain-based QR codes for its autumn AD 2017 release.
I know, Adia. Anti-gravity, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's up, bro?
Okay. Hey, what's going on? I
Oh,
think
yeah,
I
I
know.
think, yeah, bored.
Yeah, I think his connection dropped.
Okay, he'll be back in a little couple minutes.
In the meantime, we're gonna play some music.
Okay, we'll see what you're gonna play.
Hello?
Are you there?
Yeah, yeah. Was I
Okay,
out for long?
yeah, maybe like 45 seconds.
Okay.
You like them
Yeah,
frozen? You like them frozen worms in Russia?
uh say what?
You like them frozen worms out in Russia?
Man, something going on. They got to my computer or my router. Um since since I've been learning about blockchain, logistics and supply chain is one of the major industries blockchain can revolutionize and help it become more efficient. Just like the food industry, say I give you people that they're listening an example. If you're into organic food and you like food from a certain farm or region or whatever the case may be, but every time you go to your favorite store, you're not 100% sure if they just stick on the label organic farming or if it's from that specific farm. What they're adding in the packaging, not in the food, but in the packaging, are QR codes and RFID chips where you can take your phone now, scan it, and the blockchain will track every step in that product's travel time from the farm to the store, and it'll tell you if it's specifically from that farm or not. Now, take what I just told you and apply it to automotive parts. Apply it to products. If you not really sure if that Rolex Submariner is real, take your phone out, scan the packaging or the RFID chip that's tagged on it, and it'll tell you, hey, we don't know where this ID is coming from, but it's not real, and you don't have to buy it. But the reason I say car auto parts is if there's a um, malfunctioning piece in a car auto part, instead of you getting that piece of mail in that letter in the mail that you may not read, the the car dealership will actually call you and let you know, hey, you need to bring your car in because there's a malfunction in your car. But those are some of the things off the top of my head that blockchain can be used for to better help the supply chain logistics and any other thing blockchain can be applied to.
And I know, I think it would be great if you can link the EDX program
Mm,
that you've enrolled in the external chat, so that people get an understanding of the education that's available. There's all types of videos on YouTube you can watch, but as well as getting accredited level of education, and a certificate or even a degree in blockchain. I know can actually drop that into the chat.
yeah, I'll drop it into what I'll do for everyone. Not only will I drop it into the chat, but I'll put it down in the description so people can click on it and learn more about it also. Go ahead, Pring.
So,
Take
on
your
it,
time. Take
I,
your time.
I, I respect the capabilities of blockchain, and my question is, how scalable is it to
Highly.
the masses? Because we're like, I see the candle being burned at both ends. We're like training people to be immediate, to be right away, to be this, to be that, um, and that if they're going to go ahead and take on blockchain to use it for their automotive, to use it for their shopping, to use it for their everything, we're doing that simultaneously as we're also training people that everything as we're also training people to get used to immediate gratification. And blockchain seems like, and not for me. If I was in it, if I was going to trade in it, if I was going to do it, I would get in it. I would do a deep dive. But for the average person, the average human, who's being trained on getting things quickly, immediately, it's like, how do you clear that hurdle? How do you have all these things telling people it's quick, it's easy, it's fast, click click click, swipe swipe swipe, tap tap tap, fingertip fingertip fingertip. But with this blockchain thing, you have to go a little bit deeper to go ahead and learn it. And I mean, I see it being onboarded by a select few, but not only the masses. And that's just me just guessing. You know what I'm saying? At it, but
Now, I got a question for you. Are you saying that
Mhm.
people will not want to learn blockchain and therefore it won't be used by the masses?
Yes,
All
yes,
right.
yes.
This is all right. Now, in my examples, excuse me, you don't have to learn blockchain to know that hey, this food is not from where I want it to be from. What it is you're looking at the ledger in which the traveling that food that chicken breast gone through. Only thing you're doing is scanning the code, and it'll pop up on your phone real quick to say, "Hey, this is authentically from this farm." It's not a case where you have to learn it to know how it works. You have to know the intricacies of how it work, know how to work. You just have to scan something real quick and say, "Okay, this is exactly what it's supposed to be." All right, it's just that simple. It can be an app on your phone that you can open up to scan the QR code. You're gonna open your camera iPhone, not iPhone, your iPhone's camera to scan it, and it could be a few seconds. It's definitely less than a minute. Usually, right now, when you scan something, excuse me, with your camera, once you scan a QR code, a little drop down says whatever information is on that QR code. It's just that quick, so you don't have to learn it. The only people who have to learn it are the people who are setting up the infrastructure, setting up the infrastructure with the warehouses, with uh, the really the warehouses and the people that are manufacturing the items.
I think it's important for people like Preem to understand that blockchain is actually digital infrastructure. What it allows many companies as well as individuals is to utilize a more secure platform for distribution. So we talked about this before in these hangouts, and I think this is long before you even came on. But one of the ways that Black people could have used this in terms of hip hop was to secure their music beyond the record labels or the mass distribution points. Because what happens back in the day is that people used to dub tapes, they used to burn CDs, and you would have bootleg copies of your music going out on the market, and you're losing hundreds, if not millions, of dollars in sales and revenue. What the blockchain would have done is it would have cut out the bootleggers altogether, cut out the black market altogether, and would have given you 100% return on your content. And the same thing is probably going to happen in the movie industry to cut out the bootleggers from leaking out movies um, before they're released. I foresee that happening in order for movie firms to actually recoup all of their lost revenue.
Let me ask this quick question. So, is there only one blockchain? Is there a possibility there could be competitive blockchain?
There is multiple
I, I
blockchains.
think there's like five major ones right now.
How
Uh,
many?
I think there's five major ones right now.
Five.
They do
But
different
you
things.
can
So
create
different.
your own blockchain. Oh, go ahead,
Yeah,
Michael.
yeah.
Now,
Oh,
I was just going to say that different blockchains do different things, so they're utilized for different purposes. So they're not exactly competing with each other. They're just evolutions of the previous version that came out. So things like EOS um, are used as a 2.0 version to Ethereum. Ethereum is a currency that uses a form of blockchain that is not so much as archaic, but not as efficient as something like EOS or IOTA. IOTA is another version that actually came out a little while ago. So this you have these different versions of blockchain, but you have to understand why you're going to use it if you're a developer or a digital architect or a digital engineer looking to create a secure mechanism for transport purposes.
so let me rephrase it this way. If I'm Jack, Jane, Jill, Mike, whatever, the average consumer will, navigating through these or exchanging through these different blockchains, moving from one to the other, be as simple as or simpler than switching cell phone providers.
Um,
It,
Something like that, but not exactly, right? So there are contracts in there for decentralized applications as well as decentralization of the infrastructure.
Oh,
However, um, let me give you a better example. You're a marketing person, right?
yes, sir.
So right now, what one of the biggest problems that we have in the cybersecurity world is that you have advertisements on PCs that are loaded with maliciousware or malware used to attack a person's computer and bypass antivirus programs on your system because the antivirus is looking for file-based infections. And what happens is your browser is ingesting all of this content through Google Ads or AdSense or some other form of advertising in the sidebar because the hosting capabilities of this advertisement is external to the website itself. So what happens is you go to this website and you're looking at whatever content you're looking at, but all of a sudden you see all these advertisements pop up. You might click off one or two advertisements and that's fine, but the ingestion has already happened on that end. Now, what blockchain would have done for a legitimate ad agency that you may have established, Preem, would allow your advertisements to go from start to finish to the client, which may be Yahoo, maybe Google, maybe a an advertisement inside YouTube. It allows your content from your ad to get from point A to point B without being having a man in the middle attack or be confiscated by a bad threat actor to come in and take advantage of the code and inject that code into the end user's machine, which would be whoever's viewing the content. So they may end up, not knowing, having their computer um, crypto locked, basically have their computer held for ransom through this sort of infection. And what blockchain would have done is would have made sure that this ad was secure from start to finish.
So, what a good way of explaining the blockchain would be kind of like if you think of it as like the internet, blockchain is like the coax cables and that kind of infrastructure that's on the ground so that people can get onto the internet and do other stuff like make a YouTube or a Amazon or a Facebook. But underneath it is all the ISPs and the infrastructure they built.
No, because blockchain is actually the code, right? So it's infrastructure and code.
Right. No, I mean just as like a parallel.
Apparently, not necessarily. You wouldn't see it. So the closest thing that I can use in parallel would be would it would be like a key to your door. I mean, a key is laser cut or physically cut just for that lock. And if that key does not fit in that lock, then that means that it's not compatible. It's not the right thing. So in the blockchain, what would happen is that that key that was sent to that point B from point A to point B, if it's not authentic, then it's not going to be able to be received on the other end. And this would have been authenticated on multiple nodes, or what they call multi nodes. I think that's what they call it, right? Why not?
Yeah, master nodes.
Yeah, master nodes. That would have been authenticated on the master nodes.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just I mean, and I totally respect that. You know, if it is like a higher level of understanding, it is, but from a scalability standpoint, to get folks to adapt to it, it's either going to take like a crashing and folks who just need it. Um, but it just seems like a little bit of heavy lifting for like voluntary for voluntary adaptation to it.
I don't know about that, Preet. If you go back
Well,
to the internet,
I
20
only say
years
that.
ago,
I only say that because once you guys get into like the second or third sentence of what you guys are talking about, I'm lost. I'm lost.
just think of it like 30 years ago. Or is it 30 years ago? Maybe, yeah, 30 years ago. Maybe there's like what, 5 to 10% of the people were on the internet, right? And then now people can't imagine a world without the internet. So it'll be basically be like that, in my opinion.
Okay, let me try to put it as simple as possible. Okay, this technology is going to be used to make things more efficient. From your standpoint, let's say, Prem, you're the user. Right now, you're thinking it as something extra in your steps, right?
Yes. Yes.
You there?
Yes.
You're thinking of this as something extra you have to do in your steps, right?
Correct.
So, in other words, you got to get this done, you got to get this done, you got to make sure people know about this, you got to make sure people know about that. Then you're looking at this blockchain as something you that is drops right down in the middle of your whole process. That is not actually what it is. What it is there for you to become more efficient. If you're trying to get your product out, if you're trying to get your services out, it's there to eliminate a lot of these steps and make what you're trying to do, the service you're trying to get out, more efficient. And you don't have to learn about the whole infrastructure. You know, just like when you turn on the computer, you don't have to deal with the Linux. You just turn it on with the blockchain, whatever industry you're dealing with. You may have to just go to a website, input your information on that specific blockchain that you may be that's for you, and it's a streamlining process. It's a more efficiency process. A lot of the steps that you're using now can be eliminated in the future with this technology. That's what it's for.
All right. Cool.
I know,
Cool. I mean,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
know you may not be
so.
able to see it now, but
Mhm.
as it comes on, as you hear more and more about it, as your mind opens to the more possibilities of it, you'll start to think, and you start to put two and two together. Say, okay, I can see it being used for this, or I can see it being used for that. Right now, it's new to you, which is understandable. Is yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll spend the night just doing blockchain
Hmm.
sometime soon after Lionel graduates. So
Okay.
So,
Respect. Respect.
all right,
next
let's
article.
get to our next article comes from investing.com. UST USPTO reveals blockchain related patent applications from Accenture, MasterCard, written July 27th. The United States Patent and Trade Office presented on Thursday several blockchain related patent applications, including potential inventions coming from MasterCard and Accenture. Professional services firm Accenture wants to implement distributed ledger technology, or DLT, another name for blockchain, to automate and secure shipping processes. When a product has to be shipped to a destination, blockchain can be used to store data regarding its aspects, such as origin, chemical identity, and other attributes. Thus, more Thus, one or more devices can analyze blockchain data at the destination or at any point during the shipping process to identify and determine the item. The sensor device, which is used to collect data from blockchain, may be related to a spectrometer, whether it's an infrared, ultraviolet, or mass spectrometer, a camera, a RFID reader, a barcode reader, a QR reader, a DNA analyzer, or any similar type of device that is capable of analyzing certain attributes of the shipping products. In some cases, the device can be attached to a robot or an unmanned aerial vehicle, or UAV. The device used in the network would check the integrity and state of the products. The patent application, titled Secure Product Identification and Verification, was initially filed on January 27, 2017. Payments giant MasterCard intends to leverage the technology for the use of digital signatures for signing blockchain transactions, as the patent application description explains. Many blockchains rely on extensive computation power when adding new blocks. As the network grows and more participants are attracted in, blockchains may lead to more energy waste. To avoid this, a blockchain network can rely on signatures by trusted participants who can validate new blocks. MasterCard proposes a trusted pool of participants and digital signatures to ensure that the new blocks are reliable and secure. In reality, a similar approach already exists in many blockchains, though probably not using digital signatures. For example, the delegated proof of stake, or DPoS algorithm, such as the one used by EOS and other blockchains, doesn't waste so much energy and computational power, and it operates with a pool of block validators. MasterCard filed the patent application on March 26, 2018. The patent is titled Method and System Blockchain Variant Using Digital Signatures. Tech giant IBM is on the list again. At this time, the US based company wants to use blockchain for decentralized computing and auditability and taxability. Besides the patent applications described above, the USPTO published two more relevant patents from IBM and American Express, which don't use DOT as the core technology, but which propose blockchain as one of the methods to store data. IBM filed a patent application on January 24th, 2017 for its decentralized computing with auditability and taxability. IBM is one of the most active blockchain adapters and promoters. This month, the USPTO published six blockchain related patent applications from IBM in 1 week. Amex filed its application on January 23rd, 2017 for a system and method for dynamic scaling of concurrent processing threads. Last week, we reported that Amex was awarded a patent for a payment system that uses a blockchain-based proof of payment. Ooh, that was a good article. I understand what they're doing. They're streamlining their credit with Mastercard and Amex. They're streamlining their industry for better. How am I trying to put this? Better usage in Um, okay, they're storing data on the blockchain with the different offices they have, not only around the country but around the world. They can use all the information that's coming in into those different branches, satellites of their company to streamline more the data, so they can then turn around, use the data, read the data, analyze the data to optimize. Hey, we're losing money here. This part of our company needs more funding. So I understand what they're doing with this. With IBM, the patents IBM is taking out, I haven't got a sense of that yet.
IBM uses it for multiple reasons in healthcare as well as military usage as well. So they're not always going to disclose what exactly that they're doing. But I just want to make this quick announcement that I did drop the link to EDX in the chat. So if you look through the chat, it's in there. It should be a few messages up. Um, what's ironic is that today I actually got called for a blockchain opportunity out in New York, and the starting pay was 200K a year. So just to give you an idea of where blockchain is going in terms of career advancement, um, this is exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for people who are evangelists or advocates, analysts, people who have credibility in terms of the blockchain. If you have a professional certificate or some kind of certification or some kind of degree in terms of computer science development, in terms of databases, this is exactly what they're looking for. They want somebody who can come in and um, basically architect their entire environment for blockchain.
Awesome, outstanding, outstanding.
Congrats, man.
Well, I haven't accepted it. I can't accept it. So, but they're looking for people. So, and these are it's a new block. It's a new company out in New York. That's New York City that's looking. So, my point in saying that is that blockchain is the leading technology in terms of IT that you have to have some form of literacy of at this point. And the program that um, or the link that I dropped in the chat from EDX actually gives you that form of literacy. And as you can hear from Lionel, 6 months ago he had no idea what blockchain was, and now
Nah,
you see where he is. So
any other comments on this? All right, let's go ahead to our next article. These next few articles are blockchain heavy, but that's good because the more you hear about it, the more you understand the different applications of it. Hear the applications of it, the better your mind can be trained to understand what it is and how people are applying it and things you may have thought of earlier. This next article comes from ccn.com, titled Microsoft's new Ethereum blockchain product gets rid of mining. Software giant Microsoft has debuted a new blockchain as a service BaaS product that allows businesses across industry verticals instance of Ethereum tailored specifically for enterprise environments. Quick question, Mike. This blockchain as a service is BaaS, but that's a cloud computing service. Am I
you
correct?
said you said blockchain as a service.
Yeah.
It's the blockchain is independent of any environment, so they are hosting it in Azure. Yes,
Okay.
Azure is the cloud computing platform.
For Microsoft, right?
Correct.
All right. All right. Announced on Tuesday, Ethereum Proof of Authority on Azure allows enterprises to build applications on an Ethereum blockchain. Ooh, that is not secured by a proof of work consensus algorithm and consequently does not require mining. Features that are better suited for networks and do not trust one another. That I gotta read that first sentence again. Announced on Tuesday, Ethereum proof of authority on Azure allows enterprises to build applications on an Ethereum blockchain that is not secured by proof of work. Wow. Proof of work works great in anonymous open networks where cryptocurrency promotes security on the network, said Azure Global Software engineer Cody Bourne. However, in private consortium networks, the underlying ether has no value. Bourne explained that since all participants on an enterprise blockchain network are known as reputable, governance can be separated from network operation. To that end, the Proof of Authority product features a built-in decentralized application or DApp called the Governance DApp that provides consortium members with the authority to govern the network or delegate their voting power to others. Network, network participants can also delegate other nodes to vote on their behalf in the event that their primary nodes goes offline, ensuring that all members maintain continual, consistent participation. Network administrators, in turn, can use on chain voting to vote on and alter network authorities in a transparent or audible manner. Along with Azure's original proof of work based Ethereum product, blockchains using this new consensus model can be deployed in as little as 5 minutes, providing enterprises with a single click DLT solution. Again, like we learned, DLT, distributed ledger technology, is another word for blockchain. To further increase their product's usability, Microsoft integrated support for smart contracts built using Parity's WebAssembly or WASM toolkit, enabling developers to write smart contracts in familiar programming languages such as C, C++, and Rust in lieu of learning Solidity, Ethereum's primary programming language. Now, I understand within the first few minutes, first few sentences, a lot of this stuff went over your heads. So let's start from the beginning. Proof of work. In Bitcoin, when Bitcoin first came out, proof of work is a consensus meaning, okay, everybody agree. What it is for your computer computational power. For every computer computational power, you get 1 vote to say, hey, we approve this block being added on the blockchain. My vote comes from my computer. That's proof of work. The proof of work meaning your computer put the work in to vote, to cast your vote, to vote that blockchain, that block on Bitcoin's block or any other block or any other something that has proof of work. So that's what proof of work is. Now, what they're saying is proof of authority. And what I gather from the article is proof of authority is people that hold the power to vote what gets added on their Ethereum's blockchain. So they're going to delegate people the authority to agree on what gets added on whoever's blockchain. So Microsoft Azure is their cloud service, just like Amazon AWS. So you go on Microsoft Azure, open up this I'm at a loss for words right now. Open up on Azure. No, you're doing your business on Azure, but in a decentralized way. So right now, what you're doing is you're going to delegate people to uh, uh, authorize blocks on your blockchain as you gather more and more data, more and more information. So you may have 100 people that have authority to validate blocks on your blockchain. I don't know if I lost anyone on that or not.
You might have lost them on it, but I'll also chime in and say that what this does for Microsoft is it gives them power, not so much as power, but it gives the client, whoever's using the Azure system, to actually be in a more in a position of authority, right? Because the power of authority now is being delegated to the person putting the application on that blockchain, on the Ethereum blockchain, which actually is a strong move by Microsoft because they're a trusted company and a trusted brand, and their product is actually pretty trustworthy now too. This is something that Amazon does not have, and I don't foresee them having this in quite some time. At least I haven't seen any news about this at all coming from Amazon. So they have a leg up on Amazon at this point. Now, typically, Amazon had something like 90% of the cloud computing market share. Microsoft is eating at this market share year by year, and I think by next year it's predicted that Microsoft will their Azure platform will eat another 30% of Amazon's market share. So there's a high probability by with this whole new concept of proof of authority is going to get all the heavyweight tier one Fortune 100, Fortune 200 companies in and actually do business with Microsoft instead of doing business with Amazon.
Wow. And also read somewhere that Google is ramping up their cloud services, and they're trying to eat away at Amazon's share of the market.
Amazon has a lot of the share of the market because they were the first ones out, right? Because typically they didn't have any brick and mortar institutions that they had to cater to. They're not like Barnes and Noble. They're not like uh, the other brick and mortar institutions that were out before. So they always had a cloud solution. They always had a cloud platform. They just didn't utilize it to its extent until Amazon Web Services came about. So when somebody wanted to go into the cloud, this was they were the only game in town. But now that Microsoft has turned the ship around, they're eating away at Amazon's market share. So I estimate that by 2020, with this, especially with this whole new POA, this is gonna completely destroy Amazon. I don't see Amazon turning it around this quickly in the way that Microsoft has.
Okay. And to Mr. Jack Charles, what we'll do, I know I confused some people. What we'll do is I'll put together a slideshow to demonstrate so people can understand A, what's proof of work, why it's important, and B, what's proof of authority and what Microsoft is trying to get at with this proof of authority. We'll do that at a later time. You got to put that together.
Cool. What's going on, Ulysses?
Oh, what's going on? What's going on? Ulysses and Young Grizzly, how y'all doing?
Sorry, I got food in my mouth. What's good, you guys?
I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
I knew it was coming.
You're supposed to inhale your food, not chew it.
Yeah.
I'm on the West Coast, dude. Like, this is the time we eat dinner. You guys want to nerd out while I'm eating.
Let's get to this next article.
Well, we actually should go to Anti-Gravity or Young Grizzly, see if they have any.
Oh yeah.
As far as the Amazon market share, yeah, I could see that happening. Like, yeah, they just had a lot of extra compute power, and they wanted to expand that to increase their service or scale their service availability, and then they started to sell that. The thing is that I see with Microsoft, of course, it's just they're the necessary evil. So a lot of people are using their platform more, but they're also offering the services that they should have been offering, and they've been playing catch up for a while now. And now with their Office 365 product, they've just been doing like they've been going far above and beyond. So the Office 365 product was basically to catch up to Google, and they've done that, and now they're pretty much taking over that realm. Like, I use Office 365 for the emails and such, and then of course collaboration. It's still not. I still love Google, especially on the phone app side. But Office 365 for larger corporations and businesses, Google kind of slacked on that one, and I believe the way I would look at Google in that realm was they had a little bit of a laissez-faire attitude, and they pretty much just let Microsoft take their lunch. So then I could see what Mike is saying and say, yeah, I could side with what his thought on that, because Microsoft again is the necessary evil. They've been making their operating systems more VM philic, if you will. So if I wanted to resize a hard drive on a virtual machine or move things, move a virtual machine to different virtual hosts and so on and so forth, they've made the operating system to the point where it can actually do that. So doing that along with doing their own platform and backend, which is the Azure Cloud platform and single sign-on services as well, with Azure Active Directory, which I've used for customers. Actually, my business partner's better at it than I am. I come in after he sets that stuff up, and it's like they're making these products. They're actually evolving their product as they should have done. So they're catching up, but it almost they're doing it in such a way where they seem as if they're maybe even like a pioneer of sorts. So I could see that they're doing this to AWS, and yeah, I could see that they're going to start eating AWS's lunch pretty soon, if not already.
Go ahead, anti-gravity.
All right, yeah. The other mic definitely makes some good points. I was actually looking at ZipRecruiter this morning, and I saw that people who had Azure skills in my area, the minimum like starting pay for the jobs were 125,000. So
Mm.
there's
Damn.
That's actually on
so
the low
it's
side.
pretty, yeah.
Right, right,
Yeah, yeah.
right.
It's on the low
So
side.
this is definitely a time to get in. I didn't even realize Azure was something in demand. Well, I mean, I should say this in demand. But if
Yeah,
you're
the
thinking about getting that skill, it's definitely a good time.
Yeah, cloud
Right.
computing is in demand, and to Young Grizzly's point, Office 365. So Office 365, for those who don't understand, is that it's a software as a service. So what
hmm
separates Microsoft from Amazon is that Amazon only has infrastructure as a service. Microsoft has infrastructure as a service, software as a service, desktop as a service now, and they'll
hmm
pretty soon they'll have a blockchain as a service as well. So, and I think that's what the article was referring to. So, what we're seeing now is that Microsoft is basically going from Bruce Banner to the Hulk in one single swoop, whereas Amazon is basically just they used up all their power already.
mm Yeah, they're like Birdman without the sun.
Yeah.
But I mean,
All
yeah,
right.
and that's what's happening. That's where it's moving. That's pretty cool to see that. But okay, I'll let you go.
All right. Our next article is from Bitcoinist.com. Title: IBM spending an estimated 160 million on blockchain projects per year. Excuse me. Tech giant IBM interest towards distributed ledger technology, or DLT, is growing stronger as the company reveals it has over 1,600 people working on blockchain related projects, swimming against the tide with 160 million per year. A recent Gartner survey revealed that just
Quick, I got a quick question. Is DLT the same as blockchain, digital ledger
yes,
technology? Thank you.
yes, just another wording. A recent Gartner survey revealed that just 1% of companies have adopted some sort of blockchain technology. Only 8 organizations, on the other hand, were in short-term planning or active experimentation with the technology. 77% of surveyed I, C, CIOs noted that their companies have absolutely no interest in blockchain-based technology, nor do they plan to investigate it. Tech giant IBM, however, has taken the opposite stance, dedicating roughly around 1,600 employees on projects involving blockchain technology, according to Mary Week, general manager for IBM Blockchain. The company is leading other competitors in terms of investment and headcount in the field. The number caught the attention of digital currency groups Barry Silbert, who has quickly ran the numbers, suggesting that an average yearly salary of 100,000 per person would suggest that IBM is spending 160 million on blockchain projects every year. According to PayScale, his calculations are fairly accurate, as the popular website indicates an average yearly salary at the company of 93,000. WEC also holds that the innovative technology can be transformative for businesses, as the internet has been for individuals. IBM has taken a provocative approach towards the field, taking part in numerous collaborations. Just recently, the company, alongside foreign exchange processing giant CLS, revealed that their DLT app store is in trial and that major banks such as Citigroup, Barclays, and others are already testing it out. The company was also chosen by the government of Australia as a central technology partner for the next 5 years. The deal, worth 740 million, covers technology services including IBM's blockchain technologies and automation solutions. In January of this year, IBM partnered up with the shipping giant Maersk to launch a blockchain-based solution aimed at disrupting the global logistics industry. The company has also forayed into cryptocurrencies. In mid-July, IBM announced a partnership with the fintech startup Stronghold to launch a stablecoin pegged to the US dollar. While it's true that IBM is seriously involved in the field, it's noteworthy to other tech giants. It's noteworthy that other tech giants have also demonstrated serious interest. Microsoft, for example, launched its very own blockchain service dubbed Coco in August 2017. Shortly after that, the company revealed an ambitious strategy for advancing in the field. On August 3rd this year, the parent company of the New York Stock Exchange announced its plans to launch a new global digital asset platform backed with the involvement of Microsoft, Starbucks, and other marquee companies. South Korean tech giant LG also announced its own blockchain project called Mo- Monochain. It's intent it's intended to enhance differences. Let me read that again. It's intended to enhance different areas such as manufacturing, communications, finance, and others. Any comments on this one?
Man,
Um,
I think IBM is like the quiet giant in this. I'm surprised they. Well, actually, I'm not surprised. They're usually in the forefront of a lot of tech, so for them to be going in this hard, kind of gives blockchain, added credibility.
yeah, I mean, IBM has been there for years on end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, I thought something froze on mine. But yeah, IBM's been there for years on end, and they've just been I always hear their name pop up. You hear them pop up in Stellar Lumens and what they're doing with that, the possible part or the partnership with that. I don't know. I forgot. I haven't read it in a while, so I haven't seen their strides. But partnering up with like cryptocurrency like Stellar Lumens, and I believe I forgot where I heard it was on YouTube. I forgot who it was from, but they were talking about end to end use of blockchain for the I know Ulysses talks about this as far as supply chains are concerned, and this was mentioned earlier, but end to end use of blockchain in shipping, and that was mentioned in an earlier article as well. But end to end use in terms of shipping to where it's like, well, I don't need to worry about what does they call that stuff when you're coming into a port and you have customs. You don't have to worry so much about customs, or you cut down on customs, where it would probably be as simple as something on a phone app or QR code, and then they already know what's in there and it's already been scanned about 30, 40 times, and every bit of information from each one of those scans is been tracked, and it's not a big deal. By the time you get it, it's like, all right, cool, just put it on the truck.
And actually, to your point about shipping and logistics, is that the RFID portion of it added to the blockchain means that no one really has to scan it. Once it enters the port, that ID tag is already sending off a signal, waiting for the receiver on the other end, um, and all that gets cataloged into the system. So even as it is entering the port, it knows what time it docked, it knows what time it left. It's been
Mm-hmm.
undocked from the ship, and then what time it went on to the freight. So it has an estimated time from the freight to the actual logistics hub. There's all types of data that is being generated and then reconsolidated as well. That makes it efficient.
Well, think about it like think about this goes back to Amazon, and I think this is where they can really innovate and then start selling this technology or licensing a lot of this stuff out if they haven't already. I'm sure they've thought of it somehow, some way. Kind of like the model that Tesla's probably going to follow, where they just license their technology and their consulting services for all these things out to other places that want to start automating all this stuff. And then that could be like a automation services arm of their company. And that's probably something that AWS or Amazon can go into. And then that consulting side can actually start selling some of their AWS products as well, along with all of this. Kind of like how Citrix does a lot of this, a lot of their own consulting. Because my night job where I work, we had Citrix actually come here and try to customize software and try to get stuff going, and they could do the same thing. And I think that's where a lot of these companies and a lot of people that are starting up, if they can start getting into some of these technologies, you can turn this into a whole nother level of consultancy or consultancy. It can create like firms and everything around it.
Exactly. And to your point about Tesla, I think Tesla just wants to be the IBM of automotive technology, where they just have the basically the bare bones product, which is the car itself, and then they can just ship multiple versions of that car to multiple different other third party brands in the same way an ATX chassis on a PC computer
Mm.
is standardized, but then somebody just else slaps their label on it and calls it Alienware or calls it HP Envy or whatever it is that they want to call it.
Yeah, and I think that'll be important for a lot of if you can start getting some IEEE type standardizations of some of these products and even protocols, procedures, and way to do things or way of doing things, so that these systems can actually grow not just organically but in a fashion that allows for even further growth. Like you have your baseline, and then you can build whatever you want on top of it. But as long as you're reaching this baseline, same thing goes for wireless, so on and so forth, which allows people like you and I to just go around traveling with our phones. So if we start standardizing some of these things, then it could be bad for you and I as individuals, but then as larger groups, governments, big brother, quote unquote, big brother, it could be bad for us in that case as individuals because we start to lose our anonymity because of the fact that all this stuff is standardized. So there's good and bad to it.
Wait, could you explain that a little bit about you were saying traveling without your phones? Do you mean kind of your data is on the cloud, or what
Oh, well,
exactly are
no,
you referring to?
traveling around with your phones. Like, you know how now, for instance, if you have Comcast and Comcast has such a wide coverage, but at the end of the day, Comcast may have a wide coverage, but all these phones use the same type of protocol, which is, Mike, if you can catch me up on this, what is the wireless protocol? It's like 802.11 uh, G, N, and like I think there's AC now. I think it's 802.11 AC, which is the wireless standard or the new wireless or the common
802.11,
wireless.
yeah, 802.11 AC, and the next iteration coming out next year will be 802.11 AX.
Right. So all these standardizations all these companies have these standards and protocols that they have to follow. The same thing with power over Ethernet, or I think even Ethernet over power should have a standard as well. Same thing with networking equipment and having 802, 802.1q, which is for VLANs, virtual local area networks. So having all these standards allow for these larger systems to be placed on top of them, but at the core they have these standards. So if Tesla, if Amazon, if Microsoft start making these things standards, then you have to follow these standards. It's good and it's bad because then next you know everybody again, bit of conspiracy theory, kind of out there looking more into the future of it all. Standards are good and bad because these standards allow for your phone, as I was saying, your phone to travel from one part of the country to the next part of the country and still get wireless all the same.
Mm.
You're talking about roaming, basically.
Well, not just roaming, but like actual wire, like using non-cellular data. So your 802.11 AC, so on and so forth, and using getting Xfinity in every pocket of every city area, metropolitan area.
Actually, net neutrality would actually break that down. So that's why I mentioned
Okay.
roaming. So the
Okay.
reason why, because you have to remember that internet is considered now a public utility, and if it's going to be a public utility, it has to be controlled by the population or the greater population from a democratic standpoint. So that's why there's so much pushback on net neutrality and Xfinity Comcast, and there's high expensive services because outside of the country there are no such thing as contracts on internet or data or any voice service. There's no such thing as a contract. The United States is the only country that has its consumers sign a long-term contract that basically is a death wish if you want to get out of the contract too, because you have to pay a termination fee. This is unacceptable. So now
True, but
let me finish.
yeah, sorry.
Now what you're starting to see is more municipalities creating their own Wi-Fi networks for people, for the residents of the area. So now Comcast won't even be a focus. You'll just be able to go from New York to LA on a single Wi-Fi network that is non-private. It's actually public.
Right. So what the experience that I've had with talking with people, like especially in Jamaica, where you and I would, well, at least for you and I would use, say, something like WhatsApp and not think anything of it and use our regular cellular data. Down in places like Jamaica, they actually have plans for that. So where they might not have contracts, they're getting charged for every little thing, and of course, they're getting charged a premium. So the contracts, again, it's good for the service provider because it allows them to kind of project their costs and model out and say, okay, we should have this much every month or what have you. In places like Jamaica, where they have carriers or the local carriers like Digicel, they're getting charged just so they can actually use WhatsApp. And I'm like, huh? And I didn't know that. And then somebody in one of my WhatsApp group chats, she was like, yeah, we get charged for that down here. Unless you use, like, say, your own internet connection. If you use the cellular connection, it's seen as a whole different data plan, almost like Metro PCS used to have the $5 international plan where you call that one country for unlimited amount of time, and it's only $5 to you every month.
Yeah, I foresee IoT making big dents into this market that will cause disruption for the big ISPs such as Digicel and the rest of these Vodafones and the rest of these companies. I think SoftBank have actually purchased Vodafone, but it, I think there's going to be a consolidation of companies. You see the mergers between Comcast and I
Verizon?
think Time Warner.
Time Warner.
Oh,
Yeah. All of these companies will be consolidated, but once net neutrality actually starts pushing back against some of these monopolies, you're going to start to see a breakup of Ma Bell, so to speak. But I think with IoT and some of the stuff that I've seen coming out of the industry is that now they're going to start implementing or implementing cryptocurrencies as a toll booth per access point that will allow everybody to actually get on the internet in a more reasonable fashion for a very low cost. So, for example, your neighborhood might have two or three access points, but in order to utilize that internet for high volume data, then you would actually have to pay, basically like a Ripple token or something to that effect. And that's relative right now. It's relatively cheap. I think Ripple's going for something like 49 cents or something like that.
No, it's
That's not
25
bad.
cents.
Oh, it's 25 cents. That's not even bad. That's
Wow.
if you go back 25, 30 years ago. That's what people used to pay for a phone call.
Yeah, it's back to where I used to buy it. That's where I bought in at Ripple. Now it's getting back down there, so it's like good to buy that.
Mike,
I
you were
have a
saying.
question for Mike.
Oh, go ahead, John.
Go ahead,
Hold
Ulysses.
on.
We have one more article.
We got a few more articles, but
Oh, okay, go ahead.
yeah, we're gonna have to just make.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No. We're gonna have to tack those onto our next show.
We'll save it for Saturday.
Okay, yeah. So right now, this is just open mic.
Yeah, that works.
Ulysses, go ahead.
Oh, the only thing I was going to ask you was because you were talking about seeing how you gave a scenario of like toll roads, and I remember we were just Saturday, dude. We were talking about was that Buick? Buick that was rolling out that new yeah. I mean, I mean that's one of those scenarios where you actually see the marriage like in full view, right? Where, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, is this one of those scenarios where you actually see the marriage of what we were talking about on Saturday, the technology that's going to actually be put into the cars from at the manufacturing standpoint, and then the rollout of it and the application of it, where you just said like, okay, you're in a car, you're rolling through a toll, and then it just basically beams a ripple point, and boom, you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Right. There's a streamlined process of automation, but what they did with what GM did with that with their Buick line and their I believe their GMC line is they basically turned the car into an IoT device because now it has the ability to be connected to the internet. It's going to require some form of internet connection, whether it's through 4G, 5G, or some kind of Wi-Fi access or Bluetooth access. It's gonna require something to be connected at all times. So that's this whole entire emerging new industry of connected devices. Everything has to be on 100% of the time, always talking, always communicating, always sending data over, always sending traffic, always generating traffic. Whether you're using your bank card, you need some kind of secure mechanism such as blockchain. All of this stuff is coming together, and it's important that Black people, especially Black men, have this sort of digital literacy of what's happening coming forward.
Yeah, because they about to fuck some or mess some stuff up. But they already have that in a sense in terms of the toll roads, like especially down here in Florida, we have the Sun Pass. I believe it goes into like the Peach Pass or G Pass or some crap like that in Georgia. And then even though we have multiple different toll roads, we'll have like MDX, which is the Miami-Dade Travel Authority. And then you have Sun Pass, which goes from like all the way south, all the way up to, out of the state of Florida for the Florida Turnpike. All we have is a transponder, and the transponders come as small as a little sticker that cannot be peeled off or cannot be reapplied, I should say. And it's only for one vehicle, or you can have a transponder that has suction cups on it, which has gotten smaller and smaller over time. Now it's a small rectangular, it's smaller than a granola bar. As far as like width and such, it's a little bit thicker, right? So it's like two granola bars on top of each other, and then 2/3 of a granola bar in length. And those are in your vehicles now. And as you go through, these things can actually, the cameras and the transponder, the thing that catches you or which activates the actual transponder, which I believe Mike might know this, is if it's a like a RFID or something like that.
It
But
is our
essentially, it is, right. So as soon as you can go through it like 100 miles an hour, like you're getting charged. Like if the RFID thing doesn't activate for one reason or another, you're going to get caught by the cameras. And they actually test these. I was watching this the other day, or actually a couple months ago, where they were testing this new toll road in Texas, and they were using like a super souped up fast Corvette Z06, and this is how they test on these roads before they open them up. They test the see how fast these systems can actually pick up these cars. So you think you can go through it like it used to be, where you can go through it like 120 miles an hour, and it may or may not catch you, especially if there was a person there working the tolls. Now these systems are like, no problem. Toll by plate is what they call it here in Florida.
yeah. We
So
have the
they
same.
say,
We have the same infrastructure set up now. There are no more toll booths set up. You
mm-hmm.
basically just pass through, and they just bill you by plate, like you said.
And if you
And a
don't
lot of
do it, it's
people,
a ticket.
well, not so much that it's a ticket, but what happens is you can't renew your registration next year. So now,
Yeah,
until you
I did.
renew your
That just happened to
registration,
me.
you'll end up getting a boot on your wheel in the middle of the night, and you won't be able to tell.
Or if you have a Tesla, they'll just contact Tesla, and then they'll just deactivate your car.
Activate your car, right?
A anti gravity. Go ahead. You had a question. No.
That's so good. I forgot it. When I remember, I'll ask you.
Yeah, and about these connected devices, what you're starting to see is, I think Tesla was probably the first car to be wirelessly connected in order to get its maintenance done, as well as to communicate out to the manufacturer that I need an update, or there is an update available. You need to pull over to the side, or pull into a Tesla dealer. So
Mhm.
that's like the first vehicle to actually take advantage of the connected devices.
Well, Mike, would you would you say it was maybe OnStar?
OnStar is a little different
Okay.
because it's a separate service, right? So it doesn't, the car is not, it's not necessary
Yeah,
that the
yeah,
car has it.
right, right. Hey, brother Jack asked a question in the chat. He said, "What is your brother's thoughts with the application of blockchain merging with the construction industry?" That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
You think I would say yeah, because the supplies, the many supplies that's needed for on construction sites, such as one major supply, you could say cement. Cement is such a, and currently steel, these infrastructure equipment is such a big deal in building businesses and buildings, I probably say buildings, that if someone tried to sell you some subpar cement or subpar steel, you can track that down. You can track the shipments, like we stated earlier. When those then steel comes from China, you don't even have to open up the barges to make sure it's still. It's already in a system. And with the infrared or RFID chip, you just take it from the ship, put it on so wherever, and go right to its destination. I can see it with the with the products for the construction.
I was gonna say, I could see an application in construction, maybe say from like um, testing verification, right? Testing the load on either certain materials, or testing the tensile strength of like the foundation of a building, right? Like if you take the metrics that you use in traditional construction, and if you were to put them over into a blockchain application, then essentially what that would mean is that at every part of the construction process, there would probably be some type of electronic device that would actually verify the measurements, the load strength, the this, the that, and then it would send an electronic um, what Why am I like losing my words right now?
Yeah.
Basically, when you approve something or you get a confirmation, there you go. You get the
Mm.
confirmation that whatever the test that was done it was done of a specific was in a specific range, right? What puts it in the green zone, which gives it a thumbs up for this building. Now, what
Mm.
happens there is that you're taking away the possibility for someone to forge documents, to forge the results.
hmm
Oh
And
wow.
to
So
and to
you're looking at it from the quality assurance side.
yeah,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
to piggyback on what you said, if you're building a 200-story, 300-story building, and each floor have to meet these requirements, as
Exactly.
the foreman, you can go around and say, okay, this floor meet this requirements. Upon the next one, the building the next floor, make sure you do this. Make sure you aim 6 degrees to the left, 6 degrees to the right. So if that foreman that inspected that previous floor is not there, you can look on the blockchain for the most recent up to date specs and notes on building the next floor and take that floor out the floor to make it the build out more efficient, more safe.
Yeah, that's for more precision. Yeah, it's definitely true.
Let's add another scenario to it. So let's just say the building's been built, and everything was fine when it was built. But let's just say 7 years after the building was built, there's a sensor that detects like a shift in the foundation, right? So it's dropped maybe like half an inch. Okay, so again, that's going to be an instant trigger, right, to a blockchain that basically says, okay, the foundation went from this to this, right?
Right.
And then it triggers off the contractor or the building maintenance and management company, or whoever. This is just how I see
Or their lawyers.
software. Oh, or them, or it actually goes to the lawyer and the contractor. It goes to both of them
Hmm.
at the same time, right? But this is how I can see QA, quality assurance, actually happening via the blockchain in a way more efficient manner. This is one area where I see blockchain having an inherent advantages in quality assurance.
Well,
Oh
one of
yeah,
the
and
things,
then I'll go after Mike.
one of, one of the areas that, as you said, is about quality assurance. So in Boston we had a an incident that happened where a ceiling tile, um, a cement ceiling tile, I think it was like 5 tons or something like that, or 10 tons, dropped from the ceiling of the tunnel and fell on a car and crushed the people inside of it.
Woo.
And what they traced it back to was bad epoxy that was sold from the manufacturer to um, the construction contractors who were labored for the job inside the tunnel, for the big dig. So there was a whole lot of hot potato going on, and who's responsible for this? Was it the state? Was it the Turnpike Authority? Was it uh, the laborer, contracting company? Was it the epoxy company? Was it the cement company? It was a big mess, and eventually they sued them for like $20 million. The manufacturer, they don't know how it was tainted. They don't know what exactly happened to the epoxy that holds up the cement into the ceiling. But with blockchain, this would have proved. This would have been the proof of work that this is actually a good batch versus a bad batch, and they wouldn't have needed to do a whole lot of research.
Right. I mean, this even works. This works in other areas too, like even for networking, so on and so forth. If somebody did some work on something, you already seen stuff like this has already happened, or already works in computers and networking with our ticketing systems. Our ticketing systems already track certain things that go on, who did what, who's had their hand on what, whatever configuration changes. So, I mean, I just got notifications that a circuit went down somewhere in some state, Philadelphia. So like this can mean that if something goes down, and this goes to Ulysses' point and Mike's point, But if something goes down, then the proper places are notified and the proper people are notified. And then you can also look at who did what, and this could be metrics to their work, saying, "Hey, this person is never on the blockchain. This person has never had an issue." And then this can go to the credibility of a firm and saying, "Hey, per the blockchain, we've never had an issue with any of our buildings that we've ever used, and no issue has we've had issues, but no issue has been levied, no judgment has been levied against us in this." So then it would be, the Better Business Bureau 2.0,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
Yeah,
so
and think
and then
about.
even
Oh, go
and then
ahead.
even anti oh sorry, the last thing was even anti-theft is something I mentioned in the chat, but that was mentioned earlier, where it's like you have all these things on the supply chain and there's less theft. Also, if you have again, this goes just to supply chain, but you can track your order of, say, cement, like which was used earlier, when your cement is going to arrive, and then you can schedule things properly. Say, hey, the cement truck is about 2 hours late, but you know that it's going to be 2 hours late because it's already being tracked by a GPS. It's already on the blockchain. It's reported to you. All these things, and everything works as a more precise system. So it's like, all right, these guys are going to be 2 hours late. I could tell my guys to come in 2 hours later, or to take a break, or to work on something else. And then we know that this truck is coming, at this time. And
And
that's it.
think of it like this: before cell phones, you would go out. People don't know where you at, and you needed something. You have to wait till that person to come home. Cell phones came. You were able to contact someone at a moment's notice. With blockchain, now you're able to track something or know something at a moment's notice. It's more and more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
I
It's
don't know
very
if
true.
that's yeah.
Anti gravity, you have
No,
some.
Oh no, no, I'm just listening.
Now, Mike, I wasn't sure if you were talking about anti theft or anti gravity. I mean, which one was it?
oh, I said anti-theft.
Oh,
Oh,
So
okay,
like not
okay.
stealing anything or anything like that.
What are you trying to say,
Yeah,
Grizzly?
Yeah, because for
Trying to
a
say we
second there,
thief?
dude, I was like,
we don't want to
Uh,
steal gravity, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, like anti-theft. So like somebody can't steal a part without you knowing, and it'll be very hard. Again, that can have problems with in terms of our privacy and anonymity as individuals in the what's it called on this planet. But tis what it is.
you know,
Well, I have a question.
oh, go
Oh,
ahead,
go
go ahead,
ahead,
no,
Grizzly.
no, 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 go ahead, go ahead.
Okay. I think is this kind of linked to RFID technology, which I think has gotten a lot cheaper than it used to be. Do you foresee like every barcode having an RFID, so everything is tracked, and then
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe the
they will.
blockchain is what's keeping it organized.
hmm
definitely.
Yep,
You hit it
yep.
on
They
the
already
nail.
they already make them now. I think your license plate tags on your car are actually RFID based now too. So
Damn.
police actually have the ability to scan your vehicle before they even pull you over.
And man, imagine that. Now you have to piggyback on what you said. You have all these cameras in the major cities. So
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
instead of police trying to go around, ooh, where they at? Where they at? Okay, stick the cameras on them. Once the cameras detect the RFID,
Tell
you
you where
go
they at.
right. You go on a distributed ledger, because it's continuously updated, continuously updated. Last time you go to the last point of contact, and you just continuously update where they're at, and next thing you know, you got them.
Yeah,
Well,
and then the
dumb
update's
criminals were
gonna be
doing that
like,
before anyway.
yeah, I was gonna say, and the updates will probably be like every 30 seconds, right? Dude's gonna be
Yeah.
imagining, oh, well, dude, he's not gonna know nothing. You walk out the store, you're under arrest. Like,
All right.
what?
It's like those criminals that
Put the
used to
chips
update their
down.
status on. It's like those criminals that would update their status on Facebook when they're hiding out and they're on the run, but they're on Facebook. So
Well,
like
they
you
do
don't
it
even
on
need it.
Instagram now, where they
Oh, the Instagram. You know
geolocation
what?
tag.
Showing my
Oh,
age, bro. Showing my age.
no, they put it in the tag. Oh, I'm in Venice Beach with the car I just stole. Happens
Mm-hmm.
all the time, man. All the police,
Wow.
they're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, they're on Twitter because everyone has to brag about what they've done.
Well, the new real ID, if you're carrying your ID with you, whatever state you're in, will eventually have the RFID tag as well, or RFID chip in it as well, and will allow um, DHS to actually track you around.
Jesus.
And put that on the blockchain. That's a big blockchain.
Well, they'll consult with IBM for that. That's
Oof.
because you have to keep in mind that IBM was the original inventor of the ATM machine.
Huh. I didn't know that.
All right. Any other
Yeah, that was a good question.
any other points or something y'all want to bring up? No. Once. All right.
I came in late, man. So I'm just piggybacking on the current discussion.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
I'd
yeah,
say that. Go ahead.
yeah, you're gonna see a lot of this stuff come out, and kind of the sky's the limit. So if you have an idea or something that would be very imaginative, one, it's I'm sure Mike would say like, yeah, that's being done, and two, you're going to be seeing it. You're going to see it here in a couple of years anyway. So yeah, that's kind of crazy, scary.
All right. So with that said, I'm gonna just go ahead and close out the show. Um, and you listen to Answer Gravity. When are you all's next show?
Oh, dude, I've been heavy on this contract work, and
Oh, that's right.
I'm getting in late now. So
Oh, I think
I'm
we're
going
still doing the Saturday one, right?
Saturday, yeah, definitely
Exactly.
Saturday. Yeah.
Okay, Saturday and Sunday then. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I can't. That's the thing. I'm Sundays. I work Sunday through Thursday. I'm
Oh, that's
actually
right.
my free days are
Okay.
Friday and Saturday now. Yeah.
Okay, it's all right. We can
All right.
figure out another
We'll
time.
do Saturday. Yeah, yeah. We'll do Saturday for now. Yeah.
All right. Well, don't forget to come back Wednesday. We have Geopolitics Wednesday, same time. Um, thank you.
Wait, shout out to Jedi
Yeah,
Focus, man. He just dropped in as we're shutting down, man.
yeah. A little Jedi Focus and Mr. Jack Charles. Thank you all for subscribing to the channel. Hope you all enjoy not only this content for today, but all other content that we will have in the future. Jedi, man, we had a good show. I'm pretty sure you enjoyed the playback just as much as the live show, man. So, with that said, check everybody Wednesday.
All right, see y'all guys.